Hi folks, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Where we left off, we were about to launch our mission to Ike and Duna. However, we have problems. Was going through preparing. I normally do a little bit of prep work between episodes, and I found a couple of issues that are gonna be kind of show-stopping. Let me show you. So this is our lander. If you remember, we were going to send this and put it in a parking orbit around Duna. Well, here's the issue. Right here, if you look there, we have this retro burn landing stage. And here we have the rest of our lander. I forgot to put a decoupler there. That's a problem. Now, normally, I would just burn this engine when this stage was empty and explode it. But with the way that, fuel flows are handled in KSP, it's a real pain in the butt to try and manage that. And it'll probably end up draining the whole top stage before even getting into this tank. So that's a problem. Now the good news is we have a ton of money. So if I have to junk this, it's not going to be the end of the world. So unfortunately, whoops, I have to kind of junk this. But the good news is I already went back into the VAB and rebuilt the Azura 3 lander and corrected that problem. So I can launch that again. All I did is I just added in the decoupler and changed the fairing. That's really it. Now there's another problem. And it's a problem with our Akatosh IP, the interplanetary tug. The problem is, I did the math, and we simply don't have enough delta V in this stage. There's a lot of delta V here, but there's not enough delta V here. So this puts us in a really uncomfortable position. I didn't design these to be stable for docking. The lander here doesn't have a probe core or anything else. So unfortunately, I kind of have to ditch these as well. It's a real letdown. But thankfully, it is something that I should be able to correct without a whole lot of hassle. I can redo this a little bit. I can move the lander up to the top so that I'll have a little bit more off the nuclear engine. I can use a slightly different kind of a trans stage there. So that's less of an issue, but we are going to have to abort basically both of our missions here, and that sucks. It's kind of heartbreaking because I was really happy about these couple of missions. So what we're going to do now, okay. So we've left that big mess to tumble back down. Sorry, we barely knew you. And we'll correct our orbital insertion here a little bit. Thankfully, the Akatosh here is relatively flexible. So we can just do a quick re-entry. And so I'm going to have to slightly redesign the Akatosh IP. It's not going to be the end of the world. And I already have an idea for what I'm going to do, so it'll be fine. And luckily, this is a fairly robust little craft. And we'll Kraken Insurance. All right. And we'll clip one just because we can. We get, as you can see, we get a really significant amount of deceleration, even just off of one parachute. I have two on these, mostly just for symmetry and an extra little margin of safety. Alright, so we'll recover that. Alright. So, we're going to find that mission, and we're going to redesign it a bit. So the first, the real main thing we're going to do here, well, before anything else, let me pull this down, is we're going to make this a little bit more traditional. We're going to locate the lander up top. Oh. I forgot this, all the struts and whatnot. We're going to do that automatically. All right. There we go. That should be fine. All right, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to give this its mission name. We'll call our Ike missions Hermaeus, so that'll be Hermaeus 1. And yeah, the staging is now going to be all screwy and wrong. That's fine. We'll sort the rest of that out later. Now, we need a pretty beefy transstage that's going to have a fair amount of delta V. Now, to prepare for that, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more control. Now this will provide some significant delta V. And the only thing better than one nuclear engine is two. All right. Yep, that's going to have to be long. You know what I could even do? I could even stick the payload fairing up here. Do it this way. It's a big chunky fairing, but it has to be to fit around the lander. That is the one thing I don't like about that lander design. I mean, it's very robust, it's very reliable, it's very stable, it works well, and all that. But it is wide. It's very wide, and it needs a wide fairing. Okay. Now I gotta get this out where it's going. So, first things first. I'm going to use a mainsail in this stage. The mainsail is a very good engine for this type of application. I have relatively good luck with them. And I'm also going to use a second decoupler. Honestly, it's more of a spacer than anything else. There we go. And we'll make sure all of that is auto-strutted. Perfect. Now the idea, this, I hope, is going to get us in orbit. Excuse me. From like a suborbital trajectory. And what we're going to do down here is going to get us up there. And the other good news is that if this works and gets us, has enough delta V and everything to get us to Ike with a little bit left over, we may even be able to use this as sort of like a template mission to go other places. I'm cautiously optimistic about that prospect. Now, as we know, this alone is not how we're going to do it. We're always going to kick with some Clydesdales. But before that, let me just do some struts real quick. Okay, there we go. Yeah, these Clydesdale boosters end up being very good. Man, look at this. 11 stages. Oh. This is a chunky rocket. Truth be told, it is a little overbuilt. But that's okay. Now we just need some separatrons. Alright, that should do the trick. And we'll get our launch clamps. And then I think we're ready to go. Just a small redesign, not too crazy. Okay. This is our big monstrosity. And let's check our crew member. We're not going to go with Jeb. We'll go with our same guy we were going to do before, Kerbal. Alright. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. Now, same as before, we're going to launch Hermaeus 1 here into orbit around Kerbal. We're going to leave it parked, and we're going to launch our Azura 2 lander. Oh, it's a big chunky rocket. Look at that. It is too tall. I should have just used a 3.75 meter fairing. It's all good. That is a wobbly rocket. We'll get to a point in the not too distant future where all of our upper stages are going to be nuclear and ion powered. We're not quite there yet, but we'll get there. Alright, we're getting a little ahead of our angle of attack. There we go. Because we have an absolutely ridiculous amount of thrust, even just coming out of these Clydesdales. I mean, you can see here, I just cut the throttle on our core stage. And we're still going. We're cruising. I try to manage that fuel flow very carefully on the ascent here. Okay. That is what I like to see. Alright, so I'm going to burn this until I have an apps of about 150. I'm going to play it a little safe because I'm dealing with a relatively big, chunky rocket here. Alright. And we're even already in space. How about that? So we'll just warp up close to apps. Do a circularization burn. And since we're already in space, I'm going to jettison the fairing. Oh, I can... Whoops. Getting ahead of ourselves there. Alright. We can retract that ladder. It was the same hotkey to deploy the solar panels. Alright. We're good there. We're almost out of that first stage. You know what? Just for good measure. Well, no, I'll save the tiny little bit of delta V that's left. We'll be efficient. Alright, so now we're going to launch the Azura 2 lander. Now that we have corrected our previous deficiency... Minor detail. Or, I'm sorry, Azura 3. Yes. And no crew. We are probed. We are... Okay, good. And we'll see what happens here. I'm cautiously optimistic that, you know, since we've done something very similar to this before, that we're not really going to run into too many problems. And again, you can see what I did with the throttle. The Clydesdales are producing the vast majority of our ascent thrust here. Getting our gravity turn going. And watching our apps, and we're going to aim for the same thing. We're going to go for about 150 and circularize there. Oh, we're going to get a little further than that just off of the solids. Not bad. It's always nice when that works correctly. All right. We'll extend that out a bit. Get our orbit circularized. We're still basically in our core stage here. We've got ridiculous amounts of fuel left. Doing quite good on that. Okay. Not bad. Now let's go ahead for good measure. And we'll put out our solar panels. And we've got that critical joint is now correctly staged. So we're good there. Alright, now we need to add an alarm for our transfer window from Kerbal, to Duna. Okay. So that's going to be a while. Almost 2 years. Well, good news is we can just wait it out. But I'm thinking... Yeah, I'll do it in the next episode. I was thinking about launching another relay. But the other thing that I'm kind of enthusiastic about is this uncrewed lander. If this works out well, I'm strongly considering just launching one of these preemptively and pre-positioning one of these things in orbit around every planet. And in the case of Jool, out around its moons. And the reason there, it's a little bit of work to get that done, but the main reason there is so that when the time comes to land on all those other celestial bodies, all we have to do is the one-way trip with something like that Akatosh IP. And we'll already have, you know, a lander like already there waiting for us. But the other thing I'm going to have to do before that is I am going to have to... I'm going to have to set up a little bit more of a deep space relay network. So after I'm done with Duna here, before I get started on Eve, Gilly, and Moho, because they're going to be next, I'm thinking I'm going to send some satellites into orbit in different parts of the solar system and get ourselves a little bit of a deep space relay network going. There are a lot of advantages to having that in place before we really get going on stuff. And plus, it'll give me the opportunity, give me the excuse to use some ion engines. So that is always fun. I'm always a big fan of that. Alright, so I'm going to wait until I've got just a little bit left to go. I'm watching here. I'm going to wait until I'm about a month out. And then we'll escape Kerbal. Okay. Let's get zoomed in here nice and good. Alright, so, and again, we're going to want to burn on the dark side. Oh, look at that. We're already ready over there. So I'll just switch to Hermaeus, and we'll burn here. Because he's already pre-positioned and ready to burn. That's what I like to see. Of course, I gotta turn this monstrosity. Oh, man. Even with, like, time warp acceleration, it's insane. Because we're still on the core stage. Oh, oh, it's all wobbly. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. We're into our second stage mainsail, which is a good thing to be into. All right. And that's enough of a push. There's no way it's going to pull us back. Now we'll switch to our Azura 3 lander and repeat the process. And again, we are still in our core stage, which is only a good thing. The other thing I'm kind of thinking, I had meant to do it already by this point, and this is something I'll probably tackle in the next episode. I'm thinking the next episode is probably going to be more infrastructure than adventure. I want to get some standardized booster designs prepared and ready for reuse. All right. And again, we are into our second stage mainsail, which is a good thing to be into. Whoa, all right, that brought us pretty far out. Let's switch to Hermaeus 1 first. Okay. So we're going to target Duna. We'll get a maneuver node going right about here. Nice and easy. Three days away. Another relatively easy intercept, not bad. Alright, well, Kraken Insurance. And we'll start our transfer burn. And Kerbal, of course, gets in the way when we do a mission to the outer planets like this. Nice. All right, now we'll get Hermaeus on our Duna insertion trajectory. And our transfer is still a little ways away. That's fine. And Kraken Insurance. Good old Relay Sat 1. Which was totally deliberately on a mission to the interplanetary space out in the middle of nowhere. That was totally deliberate. Functioning as intended. We planned for that. Yep. Totally. Alright, getting close. Oh, I think that might even get us an Ike encounter. Interesting. Alright, so here our encounter is at 332 days. And here we are at 348, so we're going to do the other one first. And you know, if I think I mentioned this before, but if I wasn't recording this playthrough, if I was just doing this single player on my own, not worrying about splitting it into episodes or providing commentary or any of that, during these interplanetary transits, I would be doing other things. I would be building and maintaining a space station in orbit around Kerbal. Just for fun and flavor, not that that was like contributing to my science in any meaningful way or whatever. But you know, the objectives for this playthrough really are just to plant the flags. So I may do another one in the future where I do like a career playthrough, not sending crewed space missions out beyond Kerbal, out beyond like the moon and Minmus. That would involve a little bit more like station science and things like that. Try to keep it a little bit more realistic, the lack of life support. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. There are some, I'm vaguely aware that there are some mods that provide life support functionality, but if I'm being completely honest, the ones I've tried, I did not like. Alright. Now, where is our... Okay, it's up there. Which is just fine. Alright, so we'll time warp into Duna. And that looks like... Oh! How perfect is that? We got an Ike encounter from an interplanetary transit. How perfect is that? Okay. It's a crappy Ike encounter, but we'll take it, because this is going to Ike anyway. So that's actually going to save us a lot of Delta V, because even though it's putting us in this like dumb polar orbit, like plane transitions and everything in orbit around Ike are going to be very fuel efficient. So this is This is actually a really, really good big deal that happened. Still in our second stage. So we're doing good. We have an enormous amount of delta V here. Which is exactly what we want to have. I can't believe the luck on that. I mean, I could try and play it cool and be like, yeah, that was deliberate. I'm just that good. I got my transfer burn instincts. Got right into Ike on the first try. Yup. Just mad skill. But in reality, that was pure luck. And it was really good luck. So I'm going to take it. Would have been nice if our angle of intercept was a little bit closer to the ecliptic, but that's fine. I mean, as I mentioned, making orbital transitions here around Ike is not going to be super expensive in terms of delta V. And look at that. We are in orbit around Ike on only our second main stage. Outstanding. Extremely happy with how that's going. All right, so now let me get to our lander. And our intersect is up here. Oh, we don't need an alarm. Close the stupid alarm clock. All right. Well, we are at least going in the correct direction. That's good. Sometimes with these interplanetary transfers, you know, as you can see, I kind of wing it. I don't plan them out too methodically. And sometimes I come in on the wrong side of the planet. And that can be a real pain in the butt. Because that actually does take an enormous amount of delta V to basically reverse your orbit. And we're going to transition into our next phase here. And this is the stage that was intended to be our Duna descent burn. So this is going according to plan. This was our burn into orbit around Duna. So we're going to get over here and then circularize our orbit a little bit. No, you know what? You know what we'll even do? Out here, while it's going to be a little cheaper for our delta V budget. Oh, we don't have signal? Come on. All right. Yeah, see, doing that plane shift is only going to cost us 53 delta V, which is a really good deal. It's going to be very efficient. So we'll rotate this up. And again, doing very well on all of our consumables. Now, part of the reason I'm doing this isn't just because I wanted to... Oops. Isn't just because I wanted to try and get that Easter egg that's on the equator. Part of it is that when our Hermaeus mission, our Akatosh IP there, comes out of Ike, it's going to be on an equatorial orbit. I'm gonna, it's all crazy now, but I'm gonna correct it once we get there. Um, Let me just. Oh, beautiful. And it'll be easier to do a rendezvous if we're both in an equatorial orbit. So I'm going to park this in a low equatorial orbit around Duna. Tons of delta V. I still feel incredibly dumb for forgetting that stack separator on the original construction of this landing ship here, because that really was kind of a dumb mistake. But I have done stupider things. I have sent interplanetary missions, had the capsule on its way back to Kerbin, realized I forgot the heat shield. I've had dumb things like that happen over the years. Like about to re-enter the atmosphere, from like a trans-jewel like return trip, only to realize, oh crud. All right, now this is... Oh, man. Yeah, we are orbiting, like, completely the wrong way. So, this is going to be... Yeah, that way. But we still have a little bit of juice left in our second stage. So, and you can see here, it's not taking a whole lot of delta V to correct that. Now, these nuclear engines are very efficient, but they're also very low thrust. So it means that these burns we're doing are going to take quite a while in some cases. And frankly, I'm okay with that. Awesome. That came out good. All right, now I just have to slow down. Kind of important. Yeah, and this stage here, if you look up there, we've got a fairly significant amount of delta V in this stage. So that is doing pretty good, pretty good. All right, we'll bring this down a bit. About 100. All right, now it's just going to be circularizing this. And then we'll be ready for our landing on Ike. And I gotta say, so far this has been going unusually smooth, so I'm waiting for something to explode. It's just that simple. All right, so we're going to save. We will transfer our crew over here onto the lander. Before anything else, let's get a whole bunch of science here from space around Ike. And we may have already got most of this. Yeah, we already have, and that's okay. But we'll at least get some diminishing returns. Now, all right. All right, so now I got to do a whole bunch of staging checking here. Kraken Insurance. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Yeah, sometimes the active stage, when you do a decouple like that, can be a little weird. All right. So now let's take a look at landing spots. This dark gray basin looks like it's probably a good flat landing spot, and it's on the light side, which is what I'm kind of looking for, especially for a first landing. So we're going to warp around here. Then we'll begin our descent burn. And we really should be more than fine in terms of our delta V and everything for the stage. Look at that. Yeah, we got 4,300 total delta V in this vehicle. And you know, if I was being a real completionist, I would be getting the gravity data from every biome here low in space around Ike. Whoop. Just happened to notice. And you know what? We'll do an EVA while we're at it. Okay. Just a quick little extra boost of science. Alright, so this is going to be our landing target down there. Should be easy peasy. Look at that. And we've got an enormous amount of delta V right now, so we're good for landing. With our little one crewed version of our universal lander. And I think it's probably pretty easy to see that You know, even if this was a larger moon, like Vol or Tilo or something, we'd still have a significant amount of delta V with what we're doing. One thing I'm thinking I do want to do with the next version of this, I want to put better RCS thrusters. I want to put a couple up on top, because these aren't providing anywhere near as much stability as I'd want, considering how much monopropellant we put in this thing. But that's fine. Very smooth descent overall. Now let's get a quick look at this terrain. Now the idea, I'm kind of hovering here. The idea is to just look around and make sure that this is going to be an okay place to land before we really commit. Because at this point, like, we've still got enough propellant. You know, we could totally execute an abort here if we wanted to. Nice and smooth. Look at that. Oh, amazing. That turned out unusually smooth. I'm very happy with how this mission to Ike has gone. So we're going to grab our absolutely ridiculous amount of science off of all these experiments. And again, we didn't bring the science module, but we don't really need to, because we're already raking in pretty good here. First landing on Ike! How great is that? And an EVA report over the lowlands. We can stick that EVA report in here just for good measure, because that does technically count as going on an EVA. And you know, I want to check this out and make sure that that's not just part of my booster. Okay, it is. But, you know, I'm kind of amused that we've still got parts left over. So I'm going to plant the flag over here. Man, Ike really looks like the moon. The moon. Grab our big chunky surface sample, our regular EVA report, and we'll plant our flag. Kerbal Kind's first landing on Ike. An unusually smooth mission. ... so far ... Totally jinxing it. Whee! Something I occasionally used to do. I used to use Ike as because its gravity is low. It's got a lot of easily accessible biomes. I used to use Ike as my destination to finish out the tech tree. I'd bring a rover here and spend, an hour just driving around to 3 or 4 different biomes, collecting the full gambit of science experiments. Oh, whoops, I almost forgot something important. The full gambit of science experiments. The way that you saw me driving a rover around the KSC back on Kerbal, I would do that on Ike. Take all that. Wait for our scroll. Okay, good. So now, we're just going to set up to do a rendezvous. And we'll wait for it to go around once. Okay. And we have thrust to spare, delta V to spare. Doing just fine. Oh, look at that. Not bad. We haven't even used up our little side boosters there. So this will end up staying in orbit around Ike. So we are unfortunately creating some space junk. But at the end of the day, it's fine. Alright, now this looks like it'll be a good spot for our intercept. Interesting. Okay. Oh, look at that. Nice and close. Just as we like to see. So let's cancel out our relative momentum. And we still have an enormous amount of delta V. So I'm just going to EVA from here and hop on over. This is a dangerous EVA. But we should be fine. What could possibly go wrong? This is like straight out of The Martian or something. Alright, we're going right for the hatch. Oh, epic. Epic. Okay. So now we are all set to go rendezvous with our lander there. And again, these nuclear engines are low thrust but high efficiency. Whoa. That got us a little bit lower than I kind of hoped. I'll correct that when we get out here. Okay. And see here, because coming out of Ike, we're on a relatively equatorial plane here. By pre-positioning the lander into that equatorial plane, we're saving ourselves a lot of hassle with this rendezvous. This could have been really weird. Alright, so now I just got to match up a good third of our orbit here. Okay. So from this point, I'm going to extend a little bit and let the lander catch up to us. And then from there, we'll just make our final adjustments. You know, once it's a lot easier to make those final little like plane adjustments and everything once we get into the general vicinity of our target here. All right, so now I'm going to want to cancel out all that relative velocity. All right. So where... Easy peasy. Very small adjustments. And we'll repeat this process a couple of times. It's not the most efficient method, but it's an extremely easy method of rendezvous. And I'm a big fan of easy. Okay, we are close enough for a spacewalk, so let's cancel out this momentum. Okay, and we're going to do basically the same thing we did before. Except we're going to EVA over. Roble Kerman here is certainly getting quite a bit of experience doing extravehicular activity. In retrospect, I probably should have swapped out the parachute for an extra propellant tank. But live and learn. Alright, and are we... Oh, look at that. We're even coming in from the good side. How perfect is that? Everything is coming up Millhouse. Alright. So now I'm going to try and fail, I'm sure, to investigate something strange again. So I'm going to bring our orbit down a bit. So that it'll be a little bit easier to plan the descent. Might have to wait another day. Which is fine, which is fine. We're getting there. Alright. Next orbit should do it. And we're going to have to do a little bit of a plane shift to get down there. And I'm sure we're going to miss again, because, of course. And at this point, I want to check our staging. Okay. And we're still in our Duna orbital insertion trans stage, so we've got a fair amount of delta V handy. Oh, whoops. Making all kinds of mistakes here. All right. Kraken insurance, and also making sure that we don't break our staging. Okay. There'll be a small adjustment back the other way. We are technically in Duna's atmosphere again, so let's get a really badass EVA report. Not really getting a significant amount of extra science from it or anything like that. It's just kind of badass. Alright, so this descent is going to be kind of slow and tedious. As I get deeper into the atmosphere, making corrections like that is going to become increasingly more difficult. It's why I'm trying to correct my trajectory as much as I can while I'm still way out here. And once I get in for something like this, I always set my height to AGL. Man, we are cruising. Cruising, cruising. Alright, we're going to be close. Come on. Alright, I know what I'll do. Where is it? It's over there. It's like extremely ghetto and primitive to kind of do it this way, but you know what? Parachutes are good for something. I should be able to see it by now. Is it that? No. Is it over there? I think that's it. Alright, well, I'm close enough. I'm thinking at this point, I'm probably just going to run over there. Okay. Midland Sea. Now, insurance. Can't be too far. Yeah, I think that might be it there. Or maybe that. But I mean, I'm really close. I hope it's not like over on the other side of that mountain. No, here we go. Ugh. Hey, look at that. You know, truth be told, that was within 1.5 kilometers. That was pretty close to a precision landing. Hey, little guy. All right. I'm very happy that we were able to get here and plant the flag there. All right, now I got to make the 1.5 kilometer trip back to our ascent probe, and we should have just enough EVA propellant to do this in like 1 or 2 jumps. That wasn't bad. 1.5 kilometers. I'm generally satisfied with that. Oh, look at this beautiful view. Yeah, and our Azura 2 lander was 35 kilometers away, so we did much better. Whoa, we gained a lot of height there. Let's manage our descent. Whoop. Nice. These landings on Duna are almost becoming second nature and routine. That's pretty cool, can't lie. Whoop. Oh no, 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 no. No, don't start sliding away. Don't do that. Okay. Now, we're going to rendezvous with Hermaeus 1 up there. Our flags are so close together on the surface. Oh! We're in an eclipse. Look at that. Neat. You don't get to see that too often on the other planets. All right. So long, Duna. Now our ascent angle here, we are still in the atmosphere, so we can't do as much of a gravity assist as we were doing on Ike. At least not till we get significantly higher up. Because we don't have any aerodynamic control surfaces or anything to maintain stability. And we will start to tumble if we're not careful. But the good news is we have plenty of Delta V. Yeah, see, look at that. Awesome. Now, I don't know if we're going to have the Delta V to get all the way up to where our return ship is, but it's not a problem because the return ship has an enormous amount of Delta V, and if we need to, we can just come down for the rendezvous. Yeah, okay. Tons of Delta V, we're fine. now we'll have to do our little plane shift over here. Which should be no trouble at all. Uh-oh, did I just make... No, okay, good. Okay, good. Alright. I always get these nodes backwards. Alright, we'll orbit a couple of times till we get something almost relatively close. That's good. That's good enough. Alright, so now... Oops, not quite what I was going for. There we are. Again, not the most efficient rendezvous, but easy. And personally, I would rather overbuild my craft by a little bit than deal with more difficult rendezvous calculations and everything else. Not bad. That'll get us nice and close, within just a couple of 100 meters. And from there, we're going to pull off a very familiar looking routine. Whoops. Alright, basically canceled out 99% of our relative velocity here. Do another EVA. Okay, we are ready to go back to Kerbal. But before that, I'm gonna... Alright, we've got a year to go before our transfer window. So I'm just gonna alter our orbit a little bit so that we're not going to be worried about bumping into that lander. Okay. Spending quite a lot of time in space, but it's fine. Ran out of life support consumables long ago, but that's fine. I have to say, overall, I'm really happy with how this mission went. I mean, we had to restart it. I'm not happy about that. But in the end, this has actually turned out really well. Our intercept with Ike coming out of our interplanetary transfer burn was extremely good luck. We were able to land on the Curiosity rover, so that was pretty cool. Or not on it, but 1.5 kilometers away. Not bad. And same thing, I'm going to wait till I get about a month from the transfer window. Okay. Good enough. Alright, so now... Oh, good, we're even aligned pretty much how we want to be. Since we're going to be reducing our orbit, we want to burn in the daylight. Oh, and we got Ike being Ike. Okay. Look at this. We're doing just fine. We have an absolutely ridiculous amount of Delta V in this vehicle. Like, this mission might even be suitable to go land on, like, the smaller moons of Jool. Alright, so it looks like that burn home is going to take us just about the rest of the stage we're in, which isn't bad. It's pretty good, actually. It is going to take a few minutes to do the burn. Because these nuclear engines, again, you know, high efficiency, but low thrust. Okay. Almost home. Yeah, and if we look at our Delta V total up here, we have 6,000 Delta V in this stage. So, I mean, this is an absolutely ridiculous amount of Delta V. Using the nuclear engine to send just the Akatosh capsule, which is light, ends up being a very efficient sort of a mission. And, you know, once we're done with the lander and stuff, I mean, it's a lot of Delta V. Almost home. Easy does it. There's Kerbal. And I'm not seeing Minmus or the moon. That might be the moon. And again, the only catch with the nuclear engine is that it doesn't have a lot of thrust, so, you know, it's very slow. This burn takes quite a while. Okay, sorry, I just had to check something there. For a split second, for some reason, I thought I had left all of my Duna science somewhere else. False alarm. False alarm. There's the moon. I don't quite see Minmus. There's Minmus. I think. And you know what? Even though we're not out of fuel in them, we can ditch those side tanks just to make our burns a little bit faster. And even just this, even just the 2 tanks and the nuclear engine has an enormous amount of delta V. And again, setting our re-entry burn for 30,000 meter periapsis. Kraken Insurance. Nice and easy, plenty of ablator, very good safe re-entry profile. Let's see where we're going to land. Oh, we're going to land out in the far continent. Not bad. Might even land in the Badlands or something. We're flying high above the Badlands. I'm about 99% sure we already got, yeah. And I'm, again, about 99% sure we got a surface sample and a surface EVA when we were doing our aviation missions. But it was a few weeks ago at this point, so just for good measure, when I land here, I'm going to get out and give that a quick check. So much science in such a small capsule. Okay. Hey, look at that. Got a surface sample from the Badlands in addition to that big smorgasbord of science from Duna. And Ike. So that's probably easily going to net us at least 1,000. Come on. So much science to process. Oh, yeah. Love it. Look at that. 2,700 now. All right. Well, we've been going for quite a while, so that's going to about do it for this episode. Make sure you stay tuned and check out the next one, and we'll see where Kerbal Space Program takes us next. As always, thanks for watching.